Okay, so we're moving on to our next success criteria. We can determine the relationship between two lines given their slope. So let's look at some examples of that. So in your vocabulary, be sure you do write down the definition of the following two words. The first word is parallel lines. That two lines that do not intersect is what the definition of parallel lines are. Two lines that do not intersect. And that's what I kind of call the geometry definition. We're going to kind of extend that past that. So anytime I ask you what the definition of parallel lines are, then I do need you to continue on. They are also two lines that must have the same slope. So in order to be parallel lines, the slope must be the same. And then perpendicular lines are two lines that form a right angle. Two lines are perpendicular if and only if their slopes are negative reciprocals. So the two have to be negative and reciprocals of each other. So let me give you an example of that. So an example might be if you had the number 2, then the reciprocal of 2 is 1/2, but it says the negative reciprocal. So these two slopes would be perpendicular. If you had the slope 3/4, then perpendicular to that would be a negative 4/3. Okay. If you had 1/3, then the negative reciprocal would be a negative 3. So each of those would be examples of perpendicular lines. Okay, so on this one, we're going to be telling whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So in order to do that, we must find the slope. So these are just going to be a bunch of slope problems. So we have the slope, and again, we're going to put our x and our y there. So y minus y over x minus x. So this one is going to be plus, so that's going to give me a negative 3 over 3 or a negative 1. A little too big. So let's try the next one. See if I can write a little smaller. So 7 minus 5, negative 2 minus a negative 4. So 7 minus 5 is 2. Do a double negative here. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. So this has a slope of 1. So I have a slope of a negative 1 and a slope of 1. So are they parallel? Are they the same? Okay. Remember that means the same. And these are negative reciprocals. And then if they're not either one of those, then it's neither. But they are negative reciprocals of each other. Okay. So these would be perpendicular. And you could always use the symbol for perpendicular. Okay, let's try the next ones then. So again, put x and my y's on there. Five minus 4, 2 minus a negative 1. So that's going to give me a 1 and a 3, 1/3. Remember, you could always pause these before I do them and see if you can get the same thing as I do. So 4 minus 2, 0 minus 6, minus a negative 6. So that's going to give me 2 over 6, which is 1/3. Okay, so we have the same value, therefore they are parallel. Okay, the symbols for parallel are slanted parallel lines. Okay, so hopefully you don't find those too difficult to do. Again, you're just doing 4 different, or 2 at each time, different slope formulas, and then just seeing if they're the same or negative reciprocals. If they're neither of those, then it is neither on there. So if you didn't write those problems down, the work, please do that, and then we'll go on to another slide. Okay, so these are given equations. These are actually a little bit easier to do. So if you're given equations to find if they're parallel or perpendicular. Now, the thing about these that are pretty nice, because I gave them to you in slope-intercept form, but if they were in standard form, you would need to rewrite them. So let's just look at this first one. So we're just going to look at the slope value. That's all we're looking at. And we're going to say, are they the same? Are they negative reciprocals? Whoops. R-E-C, can't spell today. Or are they neither? So we've got 3 and 3, so they are going to be parallel. And again, because they have the same slope. Okay, or you could say slope of 1 is 3 and the slope of 2 is 3. Okay, if you need a justification. Okay, let's look at number 6. So this one has a slope of -4. Let's look at this one. Okay, but pay attention. This one is not solved for y, so you can't just look and say it's 1. So we first need to divide off. Okay, so in this case, our slope is going to be 1/4. Okay, are they the same, negative reciprocals, or neither? So hopefully you see that they're negative reciprocals, so this one is going to be perpendicular. Number 7. There's your two slopes. So I'll give you a minute. What's it going to be? So one slope is 2. The other slope is 5. So this would be neither. Okay. Next one. So the first slope is -4. Your second slope is a -1/4. So what do you think it is? I hope you didn't fall for the trap, because they're negative reciprocals. These are not the opposite signs. They're not the same either. This is neither. So be careful. Okay, next one. So my first slope is 3. My second slope is 1/3. What would be my answer? Again, hopefully you didn't fall for it. They are neither, because again, they are not negative reciprocals. Okay, so that finishes us up with this one. So hopefully you feel comfortable finding the slope given 2 points. You can determine what the slope would be given the graph, whether it's as a positive slope, negative slope, 0 or undefined slope. And you can determine the relationship. Are they parallel or perpendicular? So if you have any questions, be sure you note those down. Be sure you have your learning intentions, your success criteria, vocabulary, and all the examples that I gave you.